Hi, this is BetGo with the Grinder School Short. Uh, we're going to look at a good player, um, and we have some 180s. I think these are two 180s. Um, and we're going to go over some things. Here, I think it's possible to three bet a little bigger. I mean, the guy just went 40, so he may not have a hand he really wants to go with. So I guess it's okay. But people tend to play pretty crazy, so you don't want to lose your action. This is an interesting flop. I think the player played this correctly. There really isn't an error on this hand, but the thing about it is some people get scared of this flop with aces. But if you're up against King Jack, actually was up against King Jack, you have so many outs because you can hit an ace, a queen, so that's 6 outs, and then the board can pair. A 10's an out also for you. So, and whatever hits, if a 3 comes and another 3, that's that's an out for you too. So you have 9 outs plus the runner outs, and you're not always behind. There's a lot of money in there, so usually you should get the money in with aces if you're not really deep on this kind of a flop. And particularly once you get check raised, you have to call here because of the pawn odds you're getting. And again, we did hit, so again, that was correctly played. I think you're about 40% against King Jack. It was one case where I folded that hand, and I posted it, and then I sort of realized, I did a little bit of the math, and it was a few years ago. I figured out that aces are good there. Kind of tricky. I mean, you have to worry a little bit that the limper's trapping. I think the isolate on the button, I think I'd go with ace jack here against the ISO on the button. I just shove here. It's a pretty close situation. It's pretty retarded with the queen 7 suited. His ISO is probably okay. It's kind of borderline. Okay, the better play is to overshove. You got 18 big blinds, and the small pocket pair just doesn't play very well post flop. You have no idea where you're at, unless a set comes, or you make a straight draw or something like that. Most of the time, you're gonna have to guess against the overcards, and it's strong enough to get in. You probably default to re-raise, but you really won't want to do that because you're usually ahead. But sometimes the person's got the higher pocket pair. It's kind of borderline whether I'd even c-bet this flop. I mean, I might just check fold it. It's going to be hard to. We kind of missed it pretty bad, and okay, and that's why you play it that way. I mean, it doesn't always work out so badly, but I don't believe this is a push. This is just too weak for 10 big blinds under the gun. You can be dominated so much. Ace 10 might be a push. Ace 10 suit is definitely a shove, but I think this is a mistake. If you had like 8 big blinds or something, you could shove that. This is a huge mistake. Here we're under the gun before we shove that ace 9. But here, when you have to really adjust for your stack size, and this may be some kind of bubble or whatever. It looks like the bubble just burst, so I don't know what you're doing. I mean, if the bubble just burst, people are going to be loose for calling, but this is a very easy shove, and you have to do something when you're this short. You have like 7 big blinds, and you gotta, you have to loosen up your requirements there, and Queen Jack suited is a better hand to push under the gun than Ace 9 offsuit. So this is really bad. And sometimes people get tighter when it gets later on, like in the money, and they shouldn't, because people are tighter calling, and the ICM effect is not that great until you get really late on. She showed jacks, but I think this is a call. You're getting 1.7 to 1. I mean, the guy could definitely have a weaker ace, king, queen, whatever. This is also a pretty bad mistake, and I think he's playing a little too cautiously at this stage, and you really can't do that. You got to gamble. Okay, this is I think the shove's good. I mean, this is kind of hand. It's sort of medium strength. You don't really want to raise fold it, and if you raise, you probably have to fold if you re-raise and you're out of position. So I think it's a good shove. His call is really bad. That's what I want to talk about a little bit. Your opponent, because of the ICM issue. At this stage, we're four-handed at the final table, so it's just a CV plus call, but it's a dollar EV minus call. I mean, it's a risk you take when you do that overshove, but you should figure the guy's going to be a little bit tight calling, because of ICM. Okay, so let's look at the other one. Take a little second to bring it up. Okay. So I have a few notes on this one. I don't think I'd go with this. I mean, I'm a little scared too when the guy makes it 3 times. I mean, you never know, but that can oftentimes be strong. I mean, he's in position, so he's going to let you shove on him on the flop. And even if it was a shove, here without antes, I don't know if I call with ace 7. I think it's a little light. He did happen to have jacks, and we happened to win. This call's maybe okay. It's very close. Getting 1.4 to 1. I guess it's okay. Okay, moving on. Let's look much later in the tournament. I mean, this guy's not making like huge mistakes. There, just a few. That's what makes it interesting. I think the raise here is good. You can represent. It's certainly possible to raise fold. I mean, I prefer. I think a limp's better because it looks like there's more fold equity. Of course, to some people that might be scary at this stage, but scarier. But I do that, and I might limp. As a steal also. It's very unconventional, but just because there's more room. If you're a little deeper, then raise, but then the shallow, it's a little hard to represent that you're raise folding. Now this is silly, the flat here. This is kind of donkish because he's never folding to the shove, and if he does, he's got some outs or something. It doesn't make any sense because there might be some possibilities he might fold on the flop. So this is kind of a mistake. It doesn't really cost you that much, but it's kind of silly. Here, I prefer the overshove. I mean, there's an ICM issue, but it's going to be very hard for 9-steer to call here. And the suited ace is pretty pretty strong. So I'm willing to gamble it. Plus, it doesn't really play very well post flop if you get flat called. Push is okay. I think it's possible to flat here. I mean, when he does that click it back, I don't know whether if he's got some really big hand, then your queens aren't in that great shape anyway against him. But I think it is kind of close, but I think it's certainly possible to flat here because he may not be calling that often. I mean, you might have trouble if if an ace or a king hits, though. I mean, if you flat, but. I think this is a shove. I mean, you're suited. You have enough equity. There's enough money in the pot. If it was for 10 big blinds or something, it'd be a fold. But and here we have 9-2, and it's offsuit, and we shove that one. So I don't know why it's a little bit. I think maybe the 9-2 offsuit is pretty close. It might be a fold, but. The 8-3 suited, I think, is a shove. It's kind of weird. But not everybody's consistent. Anyway, so I think there's a lot of interesting issues in this. You should learn a lot and go out there and beat those 180s.